Pearl is directed by Ty West and stars Mia Goth, David Corenswet, and among others. And this is the prequel to X that came out earlier this year that was also directed by Ty West, in which in that film it had a character that was named Pearl, and the villainous character in that movie now has her own spin-off, which is in this one that's set in World War I, where she's essentially going through the motions, living on a farm with her mom, her twisted, fucked up mom, and her sickly dad on this farm, and she's trying to strive to become a star and make it big into music and also possibly the movies. And it basically becomes kind of a throwback to The Wizard of Oz in a like kind of a fucked up way, but also it takes into a character study of her pretty much going unhinged and losing her mind. Now, here's a little backstory. Now, this movie, like I said, was directed by Ty West, who previously directed X earlier this year, which was quite a surprise to me. I really enjoyed X a lot, and I really loved the throwback that he was doing with the 70s films, especially with Texas Chainsaw Massacre and everything like that. And I've come to really enjoy this director, especially some of his earlier work that he did, including The House of the Devil. And also, I'm of the opinion that I really enjoyed his first movie he directed, which was Cabin Fever 2, which he has disowned, but I still really got a kick out of that movie. Even though when I first watched it, it did actually make me throw up. But anyway, going into this movie, it got me really excited because since I was such a big fan of X earlier this year, I couldn't wait to see what they were going to pull off with this, especially knowing that they filmed this movie in secret. And apparently now this is in talks where director Ty West is now trying to do a third film in this trilogy he's set up with Maxine coming out later. So I got really interested from the trailers to this and seeing what they were going to go with this whole like backstory of one of the characters from X and like where we saw her in like her early years. And so after finally seeing the film, I can say that, man, I love this movie a lot. Like, this to me is like everything that I really enjoy from X, but also either in some ways it's on the same level, but also in some ways slightly better than that one in certain areas. To get my pros out of the way, I thought that Mia Goth was outstanding in this. I thought she really carried this movie a lot, and she was already really good in X, playing the character in that one, and also the other role as Maxine. But in this one, she really gets to shine more with a lot more of her going through the motions, and there's like a scene where she has like this very long monologue, and you can feel the tension that builds up with her character, and you could just see a lot of the character study that it builds with her throughout the movie, where there's really something really wrong with her. And you could kind of see slightly of her in certain ways because throughout the movie she is basically getting tormented by her strict mother that is like a cross, that reminds me of like a cross between Carrie's mom from Carrie and like a little bit of well, not to go into spoilers, but it's basically like kind of like Joker's mom in Joker from 2019. And so I really do like the actress that played her mother too. I thought she really carried it. She was really fucking mean in a lot of scenes, and she just plays it so cold to where, you know, you could really feel the vibes of what the movie's going for with Pearl. And a lot of what Pearl does in this film, it's very disturbing at times, and there's a lot of scenes that are, you know, kind of unpredictable what she does. And then there's other parts where you can kind of see what she's doing as the movie goes along. But every scene when she was on screen, when she going into the next where it was going, it made me wonder what it was gonna do with, like, you know, is she gonna do this, or is she gonna like really go insane and like, you know, causing her mayhem like she did in the other film. And so throughout the movie, man, Mia Goth really sells it in this, and the rest of the cast is really good too. One of the other ones that stands out the most is the guy who plays the projectionist, David. I forgot his last. The projectionist in this film, I thought he was really great. You know, he was the only one in the movie that kind of like really tries to really sympathize a lot with Pearl in this, and trying to basically tell her about her future, what she could do with her life and things like that. Then the other big pros I have to say the most, I really enjoy the production design in this. Ty West was able to make a gritty kind of looking 70s throwback kind of film with X. In this one, it looked like he was kind of going with more of a throwback to the old golden years of film with, you know, Wizard of Oz, Mary Poppins, and all that. And there's a lot of Wizard of Oz kind of vibes in certain scenes. Well, let's just say that involves a scarecrow in one part, and there's also parts where Pearl is riding a bicycle and she's wearing a similar dress like off of like the Wicked Witch of the West from the Wizard of Oz. And so I could really tell a lot of the tribute that was taken with playing in a lot of those scenes and the way that the movie tells it has its kind of like Technicolor kind of look to it, and so that really had great vibes. And I really got to really appreciate the camera work in this as well, especially in certain shots that won't go into spoilers, but let's just say that there's parts that involves like toward the end where it's basically filmed in like a mirror kind of way that I thought was very not only easy on the eyes, but it was just very fascinating to see a lot of the insaneness, a lot of the insanity that brings Pearl in this movie. And speaking of other crazy stuff that happens, man, this movie gets pretty brutal. Not quite as brutal as what X did, but still pretty good with a lot of its stuff that they go into detail with some of the kills, because man, when the shit hits the fan, especially with some of the disturbing parts that Pearl does, you can tell where the movie was kind of going with scenes. And there's even one part later that just had me so like I was so like creeped out by it that you could really see a lot of the madness surrounding her, and I thought she really pulled it off. And Ty West really pulled it off with the way it was played, and especially this like tracking shots that he uses in certain areas where it's showing Pearl like slowly walking toward the camera, approaching one of her victims. And so that was great. And then just the overall movie, the way that the story builds upon with her essentially living in World War I era, and then some of the other things I got to really appreciate is the way it ties into X as well as a prequel, especially with how they, not going to go into detail, but some of the things that the dialogue that was said in the other film about the kind of attributes that she's reminiscing of and the lifestyle that she kind of misses. You can really see a lot of what she was striving for in this film, and it's like she's basically a ticking time bomb where if you push her limits, some bad things will happen. And so I could really see where the movie was going with this, and they do add a lot of cool layers to her character that just really made it such a blast to watch. And so overall, I can honestly say that I had really little to no flaws with this movie. I think the only thing I could say is that the movie does kind of hold it back from being like, unpredictable, because there are certain kills that you can tell where the movie was going with or where it leads to. Because, with it being also a prequel, you can kind of tell the story's going. And also some of the characters that are in the film that you can tell of where some of the kills end up happening throughout the movie. And also, it would have been interesting to see more of it play out with some other character, like more of the Howard, like the other character that was introduced in X, to see more of that character in this with Howard. But I could see why they kind of made it cut back on that much, because they wanted to focus more on Pearl. But I appreciate them at least fitting in with giving a lot more of the backstory in this time. And so with that being said, this is definitely going to be one of the best films I've seen all year for me. And so with that, I'm going to give Pearl a phenomenal grade on the Film Freaks meter. So for those of you who have also seen Pearl and also X as well, let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next review. I'll see you later.